MrBeast Squid Game just got released today and is one of the best videos on YouTube right now. This video has already skyrocketed to about 5.5 million views in the first hour. MrBeast Squid Game is a masterclass in storytelling that any YouTuber can learn from. Even if your channel is not necessarily a channel like MrBeast's, you can still take some of the principles from it. So let's start.
I recreated every single set from Squid Game in real life, and whichever one of these 456 people survives the longest wins 456 grand.
Let me start off this video by talking about the narrative structure of MrBeast. MrBeast always starts his video with a hook, but you have to understand that there's this concept of macro structure and microstructure as well. So this video is 25 minutes and 41 seconds long. That is a long video, and that's a very long time to keep someone's attention for. So the way that you do that is that you have to have these multi-layer narratives progressing throughout the entire video. You think of a single narrative as the hook, the storyline, and the payoff. But the nature of the show Squid Game is that it itself is composed of lots of mini games, each with their own little hook, storyline, and payoff as well. And so it's a perfect fit for someone like MrBeast, who already has that style of storytelling. By having these miniature hook, storyline payoffs that keep someone for much longer, because it's almost like they're watching five-minute videos. And so you can imagine that the retention on this video is going to be like through the roof, comparatively speaking. So let me explain some of the components of a MrBeast hook. First of all, I'm going to literally just go this by second at a time because there's so much happening here. But you start off with this. So this is just literally this doll's face. That's kind of scary. That's very shocking. Human eyes naturally direct attention to when someone is looking at them, because that could mean danger for you, right? There's a lot of movement in here. He always yells, or not yells, but like has a very loud start to the video, and it really grabs your attention, right? It's pretty much something that you can't just pass by and be like, yeah, I don't know what this is about, but I'll just skip to the next video. No way. Like, this video grabs you and keeps you.
Created every single set.
This is an interesting shot. So not only has he done that initial thing, but he's actually gone and sort of expanded way out so you can understand what the scale of the thing he's achieved is. So this is a really interesting concept. I think this is actually a pretty new thing, and this is a kind of concept where the hook is the payoff. This is a really weird idea, because in most traditional storytelling, even on YouTube, the payoff happens at the end. You know, the end of the video is the bit that should be the rewarding bit. But actually here, the fact that you've just witnessed this gigantic set that he's made, that's a gigantic replica of Squid Game, that itself is like a kind of little reward, and that's gonna hook you in for sure. So let's keep going.
Set from Squid Game in real life, and whichever one of these 456.
Okay, so that next few seconds is basically hook, 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 hook. There's the tug of war as one other hook. Each of those individual things, like, it's really cool to have seen all of those in such a quick succession, to be like, whoa, like your first impression when you see all those things in a row is just, whoa, this is a huge video. This is like really, really different. I think what's also interesting from a visual perspective is this is so smart. Like, you've gone from bright, which is the first shot, to dark, which is a completely contrasting shot, back to light, back to dark, and then back to light again. So all those visual changes are really, really big. Here, you can see that there's also a lot of movement within the So like, even though he doesn't create transitions between each individual shot of these cuts, because that would be a bit too jarring. But you can see that he goes for these big zoom transitions. They also have their own sound design to indicate that they are a zoom transition. So
I recreated every single set from Squid Game in real life, and whichever one of these 400.
So it's pretty subtle in terms of the sound design, but that first transition, you hear this vroom, which is very much that just gives it a lot more impact than if you just had the physical movement. You have this vroom aspect of things that really, you know, it adds much more in terms of the impact. And when he's done that second zoom transition, it's the same thing. It's a bit more subtle, but it's this vroom effect in terms of the sound.
56 people.
And
Survives the.
You can see at the bottom, he always does this. He always has like text that's also popping off very much at the start. He usually uses less text as the video progresses, but certainly in that starting bit, there's a lot of text, and it's very, very punchy, right?
Longest wins 456 grand.
So he's introduced some of the characters here. By having this shot, right, you've actually introduced all the characters of the story in a single shot pretty much already. And so you immediately know what the setup is, what the premise is. The objective of this particular video is very, very clear. And when you have a clear objective, it means that people can have this clear sense of progression towards that end goal.
The first game we're going to play is red light, green light, and they have 30 minutes to cross the red line on the other side of the huge room. So without further ado, green light.
So this is a classic MrBeast thing to do, which is you set up the hook, you get it out, you like be as concise as you need to be, but not more concise. You keep the premise very simple, because if it's something that can't be explained quickly, then it's something that's not inherently shareable with other people. Like it might be quite difficult to talk about complex concepts to other people. They're just not as shareable as like, oh, MrBeast did Squid Game.
Red light.
All right, there's a little subtle thing there, which is that this is a very, very busy like bunch of video shots because there's a heap of people in this scene, right? Like I think MrBeast has sort of talked about this at you know, when he was giving some commentary at VidSummit, but I don't think it's like elsewhere on YouTube as far as I know. So basically, context, people need to be able to digest what's actually going on at any one particular time. And so by providing context, like in a way that focuses the individual viewer's attention, you can really get them to understand what's going on a lot better. So here you look at this, right? Lots of people. We got the doll from Matthew Beam who made that. And then you see that there's a lot of people here, right? But here they want you to focus in on this one person because this one person and this one event is really important because it's going to set up the stakes for this video, right? So here you've even got her and a call out and she's like highlighted compared to everyone else. Otherwise it's going to be a bit sort of messy to see what's going on. And then she dies. So with that, immediately you've set up the stakes, which is that people, like, you understand the consequences of losing this game immediately, which is dying in this particular case.
And as you can see, every single player has a device strapped to them that when they're eliminated, it pops.
And you can see that the consequence of that also goes to this little timer countdown thing, right? And so that countdown, you can use this in terms of timers as well. Often you see people like Airac do this as well, where they have a timer that gives you a continuous sense of progression throughout the video. That is something that's a very common technique too. Now, I should also explain a few other things, a little bit about the hook. So the hook as well, it meets the viewer's expectation immediately. That's really, really important because people want to, when people click on a video, they want to know that they, you know, got what they clicked for. So if you don't have that, then you're going to get a huge drop off at the beginning. The objective is easy to understand. There's a few elements of familiarity, which is itself a reward. So, for example, having the Squid Game music itself, having the Squid Game text, having the set, all of those little things, it's like the same as when you see someone that you like and they walk in through the door and you're like, oh my God, it's Jeremy or whoever. Like that sort of reward that you get from seeing something familiar is a really, really important one to capitalize on. I'm going to skip forward a little bit.
Look how close they are to the finish line. It is do or die for most of these people.
So this is something that MrBeast does a lot, which is that he reminds you what the end goal is. Because sometimes it's easy to forget like which direction you're progressing. Reminding the viewer that, okay, we're getting here, this is where we're going, and you know, this is the stakes that are at hand. Reminding the viewer occasionally of that can actually increase their attention as well, because you remind them of why they watched the video in the first place.
Everyone look up at the TV. You have 4 minutes and 20 seconds left. Yeah, that's the number. Green light. Red light. We have our first two finishers over here. Let's go.
Okay, so this is the mini payoff that I was talking about before. This is a genuine reaction. MrBeast is happy. These contestants are happy. You can see that they're very genuinely happy. And so, like, fundamentally, a lot of the beauty of MrBeast is not in the scripting, because fundamentally, MrBeast videos are the opposite of overproduced, overscripted. This is a huge production. This is like $3.5 million worth of a video. But at the same time, even if you have that high level of video production, what you don't want to B is overproduced, because we live in this world where fundamentally authenticity is something that's extremely valuable. If something seems like overprepared, it's like not funny anymore. So like having this level of organicness, I don't know if that's the right word, but having this level of organicness is something that is very, very valuable in YouTube videos specifically. Okay, so this is a homage to the original game, the original series.
232 of you survived. If you look above your head, you'll see the $456,000 you're competing for.
I don't know if anyone noticed that actually, but actually this is zero. This is it says zero. It's cash prize $0. That's a little bit of a mishap, but that's all right.
Now let's move on to honeycomb. In honeycomb, everyone gets a needle and a cookie with a different shape on it. And they have 10 minutes to remove the shape from the cookie. But if they break the shape, they're eliminated. All right, so everybody...
Okay, so I just wanted to keep that in, just to show you another example of the hook. And this is MrBeast also trying to explain objective in a very, very clear way. Like, that is a very quick few sentences, but I can almost guarantee you, he would have spent a very long time thinking about how exactly to word that, practicing the actual wording of it, practicing the delivery of it. As a result, it seems like a really nice, smooth hook, but that would have taken a long time to think about for any hook that MrBeast does. Though he's talked about this on the Colin and Samir podcast as well, where he's talked about with an FBI agent, like, I tied up this FBI agent, here's $100,000 or whatever, good luck. And so he thinks a lot about these hooks, and I think that that's one of the most important parts of video, because if you don't get the hook right, then people just drop off, unfortunately.
Buddy, I'm gonna need you to get in the line in front of one of these question marks. Why did you pick this one?
Just like the middle.
Basically, you don't think it's Umbrella. Did you even watch it again? So many of these...
So there's a certain amount of relatability there. A lot of the audience, even though there's a lot of people that would have watched Squid Game, there's a lot of people who know this video that know MrBeast but don't necessarily know about Squid Game.
People are about to get on. Reveal shape number 1.
So this is a little bit of theatricality for no reason, right? And this is where MrBeast shines quite a lot. Like, there is no reason necessarily for someone to have to smash open the shape to reveal it, right? So there's something intrinsically satisfying about something being smashed. There's also this fact that you're actually creating hype amongst the people in your video itself to try to get those reactions. And so by doing something this dramatic, it really increases the amount of reaction that you're going to get from the individual crowd members. And then that reaction and that emotion is further amplified by the fact that there's a whole bunch of people in a line at once.
Reveal the second symbol.
So here you recorded the entire crowd. They're going wild, right? So capturing all that emotion, capturing individual people's emotions, and capturing people's despair as well.
I know umbrella going home. That's all I gotta say. We got the circle. Thank God we didn't get the umbrella. You look pretty nervous over here. Even though you got the star, you're the main character, so you have plot armor. You're fine. Yeah.
So this little bit, that's pretty subtle actually, but they actually, by crediting him as 456, they're saying that, okay, this guy has got something special about him. But throughout the video, this guy, and I'm sure they could not have known this in advance, right? But this guy actually becomes someone that gets pretty close to the end. So by having this little bit, you're almost like trying to establish a relationship with the character from the get-go, and that helps people to gain that sense of, oh, like, you know, I recognize this guy, like, and I actually start to care about this guy a little bit. Look, MrBeast has talked a little bit about the difficulty of trying to establish, like, investment into individual characters within a story. And the trouble is that, you know, if you try to tell someone's backstory, often you lose people's attention. And that's a difficult balance.
Start the timer. The challenge is underway.
So,
you just hear them all scraping.
I hate my life.
So here, it's actually like given a little bit of breathing room, because now instead of just MrBeast talking, you've got, or even, you know, the MrBeast crew talking, you've got the individual focus back on the individual contestants here. And then once you have that breathing room, it's almost like a palate cleanser, right? Because when you have something that is actually very high tension, very high stakes, and you know the payoffs are there as well, you can build up that tension. But you can't start with immediately high tension and then go to payoff. It doesn't quite work like that. You actually have to build that up over time, and then you get the payoff.
Get an umbrella.
I mean, there's still a storyline here, and it's still progressing, of course.
Look at this. We have a successful triangle. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One other thing I want to talk about is with regards to pacing. So I don't know if this has been talked about anywhere apart from one feedback video from MrBeast about another YouTuber. But basically, you want to try to keep all the best, fast-paced stuff at the very beginning so that people are invested in the video to start off with. And then as time goes on, you can create these longer and longer narratives because people are more invested in the video, and so they're less likely to click off. If you try to keep your absolute best stuff and your shorter stuff towards the end, what happens is that, well, people just drop off before they even get to the end, so there's no point.
He doesn't know because I brought a lighter and I'm going to drop it for somebody.
This is so smart. It's these little unexpected bits as well that really increase the enjoyability of a MrBeast video. Sometimes they're scripted, unexpected bits. So for example, like maybe someone was only meant to win $1,000, but then they win like, you know, $2,000 instead, something like that. So you can script a little bit of it, but something like this is pretty funny. And unexpected, like, you know, more money does not necessarily equate to like better videos. It's more so these little things that make it very rewarding for the viewer to watch. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. I'm gonna skip ahead to this bit.
Don't worry because they're all walking away with $2,000 in cash.
So this is everyone that's died in the game, right? Like, can you imagine? You have to physically ask them, okay, you're dead. Now just please lie down and pretend that you're dead. Stay there until we record this part of the video, and then after that you can like move, right? So like, you know, or you could just tell people to leave, but that's not as good, right? So there's something a bit extra dramatic about having people pretend to be dead, and even just having the different henchmen like on the side, right? All right, so tug of war. This is a super interesting part of the video. Basically, tug of war is, you know, on this huge tower, but they've illustrated how gigantic this tower is by providing context again. So here they've got this guy who's just like obviously a henchman looking up at this gigantic tower, and then you see like, holy moly, this tower is huge. That itself is like a bit of a payoff and a hook at the same time. I don't know how you do this in other videos, but that's like something amazing. And I think that it would be cool if more people did stuff like that.
You've been waiting for a game of tug of war, Team 6.
You have to simply admire the dedication to the sets. In fact, a lot of Squid Game sets are actually CGI. So a lot of MrBeast sets, this video cost $3.5 million to actually make. And that dedication really shows through. I think I can characterize it in something MrBeast said once, which is that people know when you put in effort towards a video, and people respect when you put in effort towards a video.
Go! Oh, it's already on right side. Hey, let's check in on 067. In the show you won. So let's
There's always something about a fight that's always very interesting.
You should just lose. Oh no, give him motivation. Oh. It's over here. It crossed. In this game with Team 9 versus Team 11, they went so hard that this happened. They are going all out. Ooh, look at it. Holy cow. Don't let them.
They broke the thing. That's so funny. But it's also an example of, again, not being overproduced and being like, well, you know, we're kind of just having fun here. You know, this is, as opposed to like being a big film production where it's like everything has to go in a certain way. It's almost like you're like, it's that appeal of the behind the scenes feeling, but this is the scene itself, you know?
Toga War took us from 120 people down to 60. And remember, only one of these people is walking away with $456,000.
So again, here's another reminder of the big payoff at the end. Because people at this point might have actually forgotten that, oh yeah, they're competing for the $456,000.
All right, everybody, we have your attention. As you guys know from Squid Games, game number 4 is marbles. I don't know if I'd be cheering, because instead of letting you pick your partner...
There's a little bit of like very subtle, I mean, maybe not so subtle, but like you can see in this shot here, he's got some dude like lighting him behind the back, right? So there's like there's a little bit of attention to detail when it comes to things like that, where having brighter shots is just more interesting, and having better frame shots is just more interesting.
We have your attention. As you guys know from...
And here, so he's lit up by this neon light, because obviously what must have happened is there must have been a few shadows and stuff on his face, I guess.
From Squid Games, game number 4 is marbles. I don't know if I'd be cheering, because instead of letting you...
I don't know if they did this deliberately, but he looks a bit pinkier for some reason.
Pick your partner, we're gonna make you partner with your best friend. Throughout this entire challenge, we've been monitoring who
Oh no, actually, yeah.
you've been talking to the most, and we're gonna make you partner up with them. And only one of you can move on. For example, 067 and 431.
That's my best friend.
According to this, you two are roommates and best friends. We did...
See, this takes the emotional concept from the original Squid Game and actually uses it really well. Because in the original Squid Game, this is spoilers. Well, I mean, this whole video is probably spoilers. But in the original Squid Game, in the marbles game, when they pick their partners, they don't know that their partners are the ones that they're going to be competing against to eliminate in the marbles game. So this brings it back by making it so that immediately your best friend is the one that you're going to be the one that you're competing against and have to eliminate, right? And so that's a really smart move from a storytelling perspective.
Did our research.
I had to come home to the house we live in.
So this is elevating the stakes again.
You're gonna be a bit awkward.
Wouldn't be able to do it without you.
We couldn't have done it without each other.
I'm glad I'm with you at the end.
Everybody gets a bag of 10 marbles, and they have to agree on a game to play against their best friend. 20 marbles lets them move on, but by winning, they eliminate their best friend. Go ahead and start the timer. You can play whatever game you want, but you need 20 to leave. A lot of pairs went with marble games that were played in Squid Game.
Even? Odd or even? Even on what game are you?
We don't know. One marble at a time is going to take all the...
If you keep talking it right.
And other groups got creative.
What is this game?
We're throwing it at the bricks, right? If you get the middle one right there, that's 1 point. But if you hit the brick in the behind, then it's 3 points. Everything else is no points until like the clock runs down. Whoever has the most points is the winner.
All right, well, good luck with your game.
Okay, now I want to talk about the sponsorship. I want to talk about the sponsorship segment because this is actually really interesting. And like, okay, like hear me out, okay? Like, hear me out, okay? Like, sponsorship itself can be done in a very boring way. Often is a part where people can lose a lot of viewers and a lot of retention. So here's the sponsor of this video. No, just kidding. Basically, this sponsorship is well done because it's so well integrated, and I think Brawl Stars probably did a pretty good job by letting MrBeast run with it and know exactly what his viewers sort of wanted. Because it is so easy to lose people here. I'm gonna play it now so you can have a look.
At this point in the real show, there was an all-out brawl to thin the numbers. So instead, we're gonna play Dachi. You have to use this blue piece of paper to flip that red one on the ground by throwing it. The first 16 of you to flip your red square moves on to Glass Bridge, which is personally my favorite game.
Okay, so really interesting, right? He's about to do the sponsorship segment. He's created a hook for the game that they're just about to play, but he's also said, okay, if you wait until after this ad, we're gonna give you one of the most interesting parts of this video, right? So pretty much you have to watch this ad in order to progress to the next part.
Everyone throw! Oh wow, we didn't even get anyone. And while they're fighting for their chance in this competition, I want to tell you guys about Brawl Stars, who helped fund this video, which cost over $3.5 million.
I'm going to tell you guys about Brawl Stars, right? And so MrBeast has this very, very tricky thing, which is that he has got one of the most broad audiences on YouTube because he's literally just got one of the biggest audiences on YouTube. So to try to create a sponsorship segment that's both relevant and interesting, that's difficult.
Thank you so much. Throw. Brawl Stars is a mobile game you can play at home, on the go, in this arena, wherever you want, against millions of people across the world.
So you can see he's touched on it briefly for a few, like literally in one breath, in one long sentence essentially, and then he's gone back to the video to make you not feel like you've just heard an ad piece, but you're still watching the actual video itself, because you're essentially still watching progression. In fact, he's timed this payoff so well to make it even feel like, you know, you just watched a little bit of ad, but like by doing that, you feel rewarded somehow.
Congratulations! It's 3 minutes of adrenaline-filled mayhem, and they have 12 different game modes, including their own battle royale, which is kind of similar to what we're doing here.
Kind of similar to what we're doing here. So tying it back to the video to make it not seem like a randomly plugged in ad, to make it not seem like it's just something he did to sell out, you know? And we go back to the video, more payoffs.
We have 9 winners so far, which means only 7 places remain. You said you played Brawl Stars? Oh, you both played Brawl Stars? What are your thoughts on Brawl Stars?
That's pretty fun. It's a mobile game. You can download it on Android or Apple.
I didn't come to say this.
So that's also interesting, right? Because of the way that you'd have to advertise, it's going to be more effective to advertise if you're talking about the different thing that you're advertising and mentioning the name a few times. If you mention it once, people are just going to forget it. But here, you can't just like obviously say Brawl Stars, Brawl Stars, Brawl Stars, Brawl Stars again and again, because, you know, people are going to get bored. They already heard it. They're going to feel a little bit like not happy that that sponsorship had happened. So by getting other people to like talk about Brawl Stars and just, you know, having the different integrations with the Brawl Stars logo on the actual like money ball thing, having the Brawl Stars on the different cards that they're playing with, like all of those are like pretty subtle mentions, but that makes it actually much more effective for the actual sponsor itself. Without making the viewer feel like they are being sold to too much. That is a very, very tricky balance. And I think that this sponsorship thing is a really unique aspect of YouTube that's hard to get right. And then MrBeast, I think, has really gotten it right.
Yo, the main characters are mine.
So fundamentally, it's this blended sponsorship model.
Over 50 different characters you can play as, from a vintage-driven robot to a cactus named Spike that kind of looks like Nolan. Hey! And like all our contestants here are leaving with $2,000 for free today, every single person that plays Brawl Stars in the next 7 days, I will personally be giving you a free prize. So if you haven't already, go download it.
Okay, this is what, I don't know if there's a term for this, but I'm going to call this an incentivized call to action. Now, if you create a call to action, which is subscribe, sign up, buy this, download this, and you do it in a time-limited fashion whilst giving the person a reward, they're just much more likely to do it. I think that this is much more important when you think about subscribers, but I'll tell you that at the end of this video because that's when MrBeast talks about it, about how to actually make getting subscribers much more effective.
If you yell, "Thank you, Brawl Stars," before you throw, I hear you'll flip it. Oh my god, it's true! Thank you, Brawl Stars. And for the 14 of you that didn't flip it, I'm gonna have to eliminate you. Oh, that was so in sync. Oh my god. Final game of Beast Games. So I think you guys can piece together what we're about to play. Musical chairs. Musical chairs, yeah. Let's test my hypothesis. Raise your hand if you know how to play Squid Game. Exactly. That's why we're doing musical chairs instead, because we're not Koreans.
So this is a really smart way to do things. He understands his audience and he understands that like Squid Game is a complicated, well, it's not that complicated, but like it's a hard game to understand if you don't know the actual game itself, right? And even if you've watched Squid Game, like I don't feel like I really understood how to play the actual Squid Game itself. So, but instead of having to try to explain it, potentially losing viewers because there's a lot of cognitive friction to try to understand, and then getting into the game where they don't really know what the objective or outcome is, he just changes to musical chairs. That's really smart. Not only that, the other smart thing about it is that like he's avoided controversy because there obviously would be controversy if someone was like, you know, you really should have included the original Squid Game, like, why didn't you do that? And, like, I'm sure that a lot of the internet would be like, like, you know, MrBeast, you know, just did musical chairs instead. But, like, by asking people hypothetically, like, you know, do you guys know Squid Game? No, like, no one raised their hand, right? It's like, okay, like, there is a very visual reason as to why we're not including the Squid game in this video, and this is the reason. So I anticipate your comments in advance, and this is my answer to it. So that sort of anticipatory, like, it's almost like forethought into knowing what people are going to say about a particular video and addressing that before they even have the chance to say it. I think that is also really, really smart here.
Start circling. Start the music. Carl, you can stop it whenever you want. Carl, do not look. Chris, don't look. Carl isn't looking, so we can't be biased. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, he got it.
I got more, man.
Yeah, he's way more. I'm sorry about that. Oh, no.
Okay, so here's a really interesting bit of tension, because now you're cutting it down. You can see it's going, it's coming to the very end, right? So there's no way at this point, if you got to this point of the video, there's probably no way you're going to not keep watching until the end. You've only got like 6 people left, so you might as well complete it, right? I'm just gonna skip ahead to almost the end.
Okay, the music has...
They were against me,
Oh
bro.
my God.
They plotted on me.
You have been eliminated. Open up the coffin. Thank you for coming out, man. I love you.
The coffin is a lovely bit of theatricality. It's like, there is no need for him to enter the coffin. In fact, he probably just gets out of the coffin as soon as like the shot changes back to them. But like, it's those little things that are really rewarding.
Energy. At the start of this video, we had 456 people. Now we're down to these 2. Okay, I'm gonna take this chair right here. You guys gotta keep moving the entire time. No stopping.
Okay, the music
This
is
will determine
popping up.
which one of you
Everything is
wins
building up.
456 grand.
The
Carl,
reminder of the
turn
stakes is
music
coming up. Like, why are they
Let
doing
him
this? What's the
play a little
payoff?
bit, Carl. Let's let him
And
soak
here we're
in.
trying to draw
Carl's not
out
looking at
for
them.
as
He has
long
no
to
idea
increase
where
that
they are
tension
on
and
the
therefore
chair.
increase the payoff
Somebody's
too.
gonna get $456,000 because you paused the music.
Oh boy.
This is longer than the previous bits.
When will he pause it? When's he gonna pause it?
Sound effects. Then you've got this aspect. Like, this is the biggest pop-up ever, right? You've got confetti, you've got, like, you know, all the victory sounds, you've got him going crazy. A very shaky camera to symbolize his excitement. And something sweet for the other contestants so that people don't have that bitter feeling, especially if they like that particular person. So all this is really smart. I mean, MrBeast is also just a good guy too.
And with that 079, you just won $456,000 and officially won the very first Squid game in real life ever. Congratulations on
This
winning.
payoff
If
is
you
crazy
haven't already
too.
Hit the subscribe button. You have 7 days to win $10,000. And obviously...
Okay, so this is the incentivized subscribe that I talked about before. So basically, like, not only does this work on MrBeast's channel, this works on any channel. If you incentivize to subscribe, then with money or, I know, a free resource or something, then it basically greatly increases the chances that people are going to do that subscription. I noticed it's the first time when MrBeast did the Colin and Samir interview, where he said to Colin and Samir, hey, like, if you guys just offer $1,000 to one of your, someone who subscribes in the next 10 days or whatever, then, like, you know, just say that and then you're gonna get a whole bunch more subscriptions. He was right. They got the most subscriptions that they ever had for like a long time in a short period of time, basically. And that wasn't just because of the fact that that MrBeast interview was really popular. It was because they did that incentivized type thing. So I think that's really smart, and I think that that's something that any YouTuber could take. You don't necessarily have to have money. Maybe it's some other sort of thing that you can give to your YouTube viewers instead. So that's the end of the video, but I'm going to make another video that focuses on the thumbnail, title, and some of the pre-hype behind the Squid Game video, because it's by itself really interesting too. And that's also a big part of why this video was so successful. So feel free to subscribe if you're interested in that aspect of things. This is Davido. Catch you in the next one.